Deputy Catherine Connolly, and Deputy, you have 5 minutes.
Caramil Margaret. Thank you, Chairperson. And last night I mentioned some of the positive things in the budget, but I also put it in context, and I put it in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals that we signed up to, which was to eradicate poverty, the climate and biodiversity crisis challenges, and the pandemic. And just before I go into other matters tonight, I just want to look at what, in relation to poverty and the eradication of poverty that we signed up to. And Deputy Minister Fleming is here, and he referred to the tax changes, as did the Taoiseach. And on page 9 of his speech, he said, tax changes are weighted to the lowest paid and which will help over 1.8 million. Social Justice Ireland, I don't think they're on the extreme radical side. I don't think they're given to mistruths. And they tell us that more people will be in poverty as a result of this budget. Specifically, firstly, as a result of the government's failure to focus on low to middle income households with jobs, a couple with one earner at $30,000 a year will receive an additional 39 cents. And they go on to give many more examples, and my time is limited, but they're there. And I'd like to see where the truth lies in relation to this, because they're telling us, as a result of this budget, more people will be living in poverty. Now, that's Social Justice Ireland. I don't entirely agree with them on everything, I have to say, but I find their analysis very useful. So perhaps someone in their summing up speech might explain to me how they're saying one thing. I haven't had enough time to go into it myself. At this point, I take their word on it. In terms of a background, and there are many positive things in the budget, but as I pointed last night, the overall picture is missing. In Gaelge, will our drill mod here? Where is our destination as a country? What is it we're trying to get in adjusting these pieces? So if we look at women's health, and over 30 million has gone into women's health with great self-praise. But let me look at what it's based on. The maternity strategy was brought in 2016 to 26, creating a better future. Leo launched it with a full commitment to implement it. We don't even have an action plan. Built on the deaths and the suffering of women and children, and we don't have an action plan in the 21st century. So it's difficult for me, again, to be overly positive about 30 million, because I'm not sure what it relates to. Similarly, in relation to domestic and gender-based violence, the most horrific numbers on a daily basis. And again, we haven't seen the publication of the Tusla's review on the adequacy of the refuges provided for women and children. Then we look at the disability capacity review, and 65 million is very welcome. But in context, what does it mean? 643,131 people suffering with a disability, and we have the disability capacity review. And what do they find? The resulting shortfall is estimated to range from a minimum of 800 places up to 2,300 places. Very limited data on outflows and dropouts. The health executive estimated that there may be 600 people with no day service who need one. I could go on. There are pages of their key findings. Ability West, if I go local, they submitted, and I think this captures the approach of different governments. Imagine having to submit a business case for a service for a person, a child or an adult that has a disability. And so they submitted business cases to justify care over a period of time from 16 to 20. Do you know how many out of 60 business cases were approved for care? 28. 28. That's what, the health service capacity review in relation to health, I welcome the money going into health, but listen, 2018, the health service capacity review told us in very clear terms the unsustainability of the Irish system. And then I could go on, I have 44 seconds, and I'm going to look at zone tax. And I'm going to look at Galway to give you an example on the east side of Eyre Square, a site bought for 14 million. Originally, it sold for 170 million in east side of Eyre Square, quite right in the centre of town. It has remained empty for all of these years. We've had a vacant site levy. I have no idea. In the middle of a city that has a massive housing crisis on par, if not worse, than Dublin. And that site remains empty. It includes more than 30 properties in an area embraced by Ayr Square. Finally, on the Help to Buy scheme, I deplore that it's been extended and kept. It is 4 times more costly than what was envisaged. No review has been done since 2018, and it's up to 600,000 is the cost of a house that benefits. And we are reviewing it with no review at a cost that's 4 times what was anticipated. I'm over time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. And